Hello and welcome to the Undebatables podcast. I'm Ashlyn Kane.
I'm Jamil Bukra.
He forgets every single time. Every single
I
time.
need to remember the right name to say.
Exactly. Well, we're not exactly dealing with the magistrat here.
Ah, yeah, true.
Like, which one did I put on my immigration documents again?
Anyway, again, welcome to the Undebatables podcast. Today we have our guest, Gallacher. Please speak.
Introduce myself. My name is
Yes.
Grant Gallacher. I am a Scottish comedian, podcaster, YouTuber, and arsehole. It's good to be on the show, guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
Multi-hyphenate. Good for you.
I do what I can.
Multi-talented.
No, we're really glad to have you on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
So for those of you who are just turning in for the first time, more or less how it works is that we pick a topic that is absolutely absurd, and it is decided at random who argues for which side. So today our subject is going to be the Illuminati is good, actually. It's really, come on. Like, I'm not allowed to say my own thing in this, or I've not been good about this in the past. So I'm just going to remain neutral, as I will as a moderator.
I was going to say, a white American woman with a strong opinion about something?
Yes,
Surely not.
yes.
That never happens before.
Yeah.
She would be arguing more than us.
We just now figure out that women have opinions.
And they need to let it out all at once.
Hey, I mean, fucking centuries of This is how you produce Karens. The Karen factory. Anyway,
Luckily, none of us are black and walking a dog or
Yes.
having a picnic or, existing in public spaces. So I think we should be okay.
Yes, we should be really okay.
We are safe. That's why we have the camera.
Just to make sure.
Yes.
We have 2 non-European citizens as of right now. So, look, that's
Welcome to the team.
That's all y'all got to deal with, man.
I'm from Scotland. Just give us time. We'll be back before you know it.
Y'all fucked up back in 2015. Y'all could have left.
We voted to stay.
Yeah, you guys are stupid.
Left the UK? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you should have.
Actually, does that make us technically voted to leave because France was trying to get us to Europe?
Try to get Tunisia into Europe.
They tried to get Tunisia to France,
Oh.
and technically we'll be to Europe. I said, no.
I'm just saying the only reason that Scottish independence didn't happen was because of the Illuminati. Let's do this fucking thing.
All right, so I cannot flip coins as proven in previous episodes. So Jamil,
Those Gen Z, they don't know what coins are.
Is this contactless, this flipping? Do I do this? My card registered on the side with the numbers or the side with the 3 code on the back?
I'm being bullied by millennials, you guys. I'm being bullied by old people. No, of course.
I've never been called more old people than what is with Ashley.
It's not my fault
That you're old?
that you're old. Yes.
All right, so Grant, you're our guest.
Yeah, you get to pick which side.
Heads
you
or
get.
tail?
Yeah.
I'll take tails.
Tails. Okay, so
Alright.
if it's tails, you're gonna arguing for the Illuminati.
Yes.
Very good.
And it is tails.
Yes.
Hey, you get to argue for the Illuminati.
Very good.
This is exactly what I wanted. I'm not gonna lie about that. That's why I chose it. Okay, so how this works is that we have opening statements in the very beginning, and this starts as soon as we turn this thing.
Okay, so the Illuminati are actually good. And they are good for a number of reasons, right? They were invented in Germany. I know what you're thinking. Not many good things have been invented in Germany, particularly in the last couple of 100 years. But they actually started as a group to try and spread non-superstition. They tried to get the government out of public life, and they tried to get rid of abuse of state power. All of which I think are things that are overall pretty fucking good. Now, they had a couple of weird rituals and things like that. They chose an owl as their mascot. Of which I think is, not very cool. What other famous owls are there? Hedwig, and I'm sorry for all the Harry Potter stands out there who are crying into their listening device that the brutal memory of the death of that sad owl.
The death of the entire series. The death of J.K. Rowling.
One can hope, Ashlyn.
Yes.
One can hope.
No. She's dead to us. All of us.
But I mean, they must have been good. They must have been good. As a group, they were opposed by the Catholic Church. anything that's opposed by the Catholic Church is fundamentally a good thing, right? Whether it be LGBTQ rights or the rights of women or trying to like suppress legitimate political opinions in the global south, all of those things the Catholic Church stood against, and I think...
Including ISIS?
Okay, so there is one exception to the rule of things that the Catholic Church has put in place, and that would be ISIS. All right, you've got me there. You've got me there. Now, there's one thing they were maybe on the right side of history on.
No, they're just competitor.
Yeah. They were like, oh, there's only room for one of us in this game.
We can't do this. So yes. Is that it?
Well, I just want to say the Illuminati, they get blamed for a lot of bad stuff over time, right? Like they've had a lot of like bad stuff chucked their way. But I think fundamentally, as a group that started to oppose superstition, which is, I think we can all agree, a good thing, it is kind of ironic and kind of sad that they've ended up as a group that has become associated with possibly the largest conspiracy theory of all time. So I think the Illuminati are good. I think they've did some good things. They had some good ideas. They were opposed by other people that make me think they were good. The Illuminati is good.
Okay.
Okay, we can cut here and so he can get his paycheck from the Illuminati. So, a lot of things started as good and turned really bad. Communism, for example.
Well...
You chose the wrong this argument with.
This is about to become the socialism is good.
Yeah. And then you would have two people arguing against you.
So started by getting the mean of power to the people, and up by hanging people in Soviet Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the only thing is Soviet Russia was fell down, but the Illuminati are that powerful, they kept on going on.
Well, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. But the Illuminati were actually like disbanded 20 years after they formed because people got so worried about how powerful they were becoming.
That's what they want you to think.
Exactly.
I mean, they have owls as their
symbol.
As a symbol. So does that mean Harry Potter is a Illuminati propaganda?
Almost certainly, yes.
Yes.
Are we blaming the Illuminati for J.K. Rowling?
I'm just saying it happens to be...
That would be the best thing about her.
Have you ever a connection to the Illuminati? Wait, you're supposed to be against the Illuminati?
Yeah, that's the thing. If they make J.K. Rowling looking good...
I'm just saying, the savior of the wizarding world just so happens to be a cisgendered straight white guy who turns out to be fucking loaded. That seems suspicious at best to me. That seems suspicious at best.
Agreed.
So, what are they doing currently? Just taking power over everything without us letting them, giving them the power. Coming from a person who lived under dictatorship.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
The classic dictatorship card.
It's been played early in the game, guys. Let's see what follow-up we've got.
The gloves came off. Even ISIS. I didn't even have to have an opening statement.
My opening statement is ISIS.
You got to get some marketing in there somewhere.
Yes.
Some self-promotion.
Some of us is going to get a paycheck.
Wait, we're getting paid for this? I didn't know that was a thing.
You get from the Illuminati.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting from someone else that I cannot say on public.
It's a small group somewhere out in the Arab world. Best not if I mention who they are.
Yeah, but they're going bankrupt actually now.
I'm the only one not getting paid.
That's because, as we already established, women don't have as many rights as they should. So we're getting paid like, what, a couple of dollars each? And you're getting paid 73 cents on those dollars.
Wait, so I'm seeing some of this money? I'm getting any
You're
of it?
getting theoretical money, actually. This is
As your legal guardian, I'm taking that money.
That's the most Arabic thing I've ever heard you say, Jamil.
It's been decided that he is my comedy brother. For the record, he is my comedy older brother.
That's why I'm here with her in Prague. She's not allowed to travel alone.
You're a guardian.
It's easier than saying he needed a white person to travel with him with an EU passport.
How you planning on getting to Prague there, Ashlyn? I was going to drive. About that.
What's fucked up is I don't drive anymore.
But
Don't
also,
give him ideas.
but I also need to go through borders, so I need her
Exactly.
to talk to the police.
It's a symbiotic relationship. I am a white woman. We are the only ones allowed to talk to the police.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to bring things back to where they were. So I don't know where you were going with
Yeah,
Hedwig or whatever, but so it sounds like what you're saying in regards to the Illuminati is that they used to be good and now they are associated with something else. Is that correct to say? Is your position?
I think that's what Jamil was trying to say. Like, if no, things can start good and end up
Exactly.
bad, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Like most of all dictators came up like to save the country, and they stayed forever without even people wanting them to stay there.
That's fine, and I do agree that things can start with good intentions. But if we look at what people say the Illuminati are doing, right? Most of the things I think tend to actually be kind of good ideas. There's this weird thing that Americans do where they talk about this one world government and we're going to have like international socialism and all that sort of stuff.
Globalism.
Exactly. Globalism. Which,
Yeah.
just in case you're just listening to this, that was air quotes I was doing.
Yeah.
Because what they mean is the Jews.
Yeah.
And, but I think a lot of the things we're talking about, like, people always connect the Illuminati to things that are fundamentally good. The World Health Organization. That's the Illuminati trying to control our bodies and our minds. Like,
And they are doing well.
well, dude, I think we've just lived through a pandemic, and for the fact that they've done so much good, like the fact that we managed to get a vaccine in just a year, that's incredible. If that's the Illuminati doing that, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, because they wanted to keep working for them so they can make money. Staying at home, you don't make enough money for them.
What you're describing there, Jamil, is capitalism, and that's a very different thing.
I didn't know how to break it.
But the Illuminati are everywhere.
Wait, so we need to define what is the Illuminati exactly.
Are the bad people.
You gotta be more specific.
Okay, so I think if you're talking about in the modern context, like obviously the Illuminati was started as a group in in Germany that was like trying to do these certain things.
Yeah.
Illuminati in the
Just
modern
quick question,
context.
was it pre or after Nazis?
It was pre the Nazis.
Yeah.
It was like in the 1700s or so. It was during the Enlightenment. It was basically during the Enlightenment. And
Yes.
You tried, but
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that was a mic drop, but I don't have a mic.
well, you do
They-
have a mic.
I cannot drop it, it's too heavy.
What? So you're saying anything that was made in Germany?
No, they let the Nazis win.
Yeah, but that was 200 years later.
So they are the almighty powerful, but Hitler was stronger than them?
I'm not saying that the Illuminati are almighty and all powerful. I mean, if anything,
They control everything in the world, including the pop music.
okay.
That's harder to control than Nazis.
Well, if you think about it, if the Illuminatis, let's say they let the Nazis take power, right?
Yes.
That actually moved things in a more Western-friendly direction because you can't have a country in Europe being fascist. Because if you're talking about the Illuminati as people understand them today, which is this one world government, big organization, you can't have people who deviate from those rules. And so maybe, one could argue, they let the Nazis take power because, as a greater good type situation, you needed to have a big bad guy so that they could come in and save him and then turn things in Europe and generally what is considered the West towards a more American way of looking at things. Because, let's face facts, if we're talking about the modern day Illuminati, we're talking about it's based in America. It's something like the Bilderberg Group or one of these types of organizations where they've got like the triangle on the money and the big all-seeing eye and stuff like that. That's the Illuminati, I think. So, yes, they may have let a couple of million people die,
Yeah.
which is objectively a bad thing. But if we're looking at the greatest good
Oh my god.
for the Illuminati,
Wait, but that,
As a Muslim
wait.
Arab, I've never thought I would be
I need-
arguing so hard for the Jews.
I just like to put you into positions where I can see you struggle, Jamil.
But I have to ask now, if this was done to show people why does it have to keep happening then? Because, I mean, Trump happened as well.
So they're letting China now kill the Muslims.
yeah.
So they can take
Are
power.
those done for the greater good?
I would think that if there was one country on earth that is out with the control of the Illuminati, it would be somewhere like China.
Or they are the new Illuminatis.
Well-
The Illuminatis are moving to China because it's cheaper.
You could argue that China has its own Illuminati that's just
Yeah.
called the Communist Party. Like, if we're thinking about what the Illuminati is normally considered,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be this globalist idea
Yeah.
where it's all sorts of control, and China is very much out with that control.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point, Ashlyn, if these things keep having to happen, it's because once something like that happens, the Illuminati take place in the pushback against that thing.
Do they though?
Well, I mean, once you had Trump in power, and since he got out, and then, funnily enough, he was banned off of Twitter, he was banned off of Facebook, which could be the Illuminati's doing because they allowed this horrible person to take power. Exactly, they allowed this horrible person to take power to show everyone just how bad it was when a horrible person takes power. And then they strip that power away from that person entirely. You've got all of his followers left with nothing to do, and the people who are against him, which is most people, are actually emboldened by that.
So you're saying they did this so they can ban people from social media?
That's the crux of the
So
argument. Yeah, like modern day Illuminati,
Yes.
they've gone down a couple of rungs in the things they can do. But let's face facts. If you're banned from social media, like you basically cease to exist as a person.
This is
you
a
know?
grassroots Illuminati.
That's the millennial Illuminati.
See, where I thought you were gonna go with this was that, like, because, well, it's sort of a sad fact that unfortunately, like, very soon, like in a couple of decades, there will be no Holocaust survivors left alive. They are all.
Are you saying we need to make new ones?
already happened?
People might not be able to see this on the podcast, but Jamil has an erection.
They won't get to see it. No, but I mean, if you're, you know, if we're to follow your logic to its conclusion, then it must be that Trump is the replacement for that, to show people how bad it can actually be. Because most people who went through this are dead.
Yeah, but actually, to your point, now there is the Uringa, or how is they pronounce the name?
The Uyghurs?
The Uyghurs
yeah.
in China, yeah.
So basically, the new Holocaust. So they are doing that so to remind people, hey, Holocaust could exist. And not only for the Jews. This time we're taking the Muslims. Next time we're taking the Christian. No, those are our people, so we don't take them.
The way I think this keeps happening is I think if they're looking for world domination, if you think about it this way, they started in Germany, these Enlightenment values spreaded to like Great Britain, the US, whatever we want to call it, the world powers of the Victorian era. And little by little, these things have been inching ever eastward, right? So you have the Soviet communism turns in, and then when it collapses, all of a sudden in rushes all of this Western ideals, Western capitalism, all that type of thing. And then same thing happens after the Nazis fall. You get a bunch of this rushing westwards. Each time they've got to find a group that everybody at the time sort of is against or has like a bad feeling towards. So like people forget that before the Second World War, the anti-Semitism was rampant, right? And so what better way to try and get rid of that type of racism than for have something awful to happen, something that people would then say, this must never happen again. If the same thing is happening in China, one would argue that the Illuminati are allowing this to happen. So the thing when things get so bad, that's their final push eastwards.
So after that, they say like, we're gonna have, as Muslims, we're gonna have the same power as Jews. You cannot make fun of us. This is anti-Muslim. How do they call it actually?
Anti-Islamic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Islamophobia.
Islamophobia. Well, I mean,
so they, every time they need to create a new monster to get people all together against it.
Yeah.
So they created COVID.
one might argue.
Oh my god. But okay, but that you're
What
just,
better way to get rid of boomers? Who are the people who are most likely to resist like one world government?
Yes, I do remember the memes from early childhood. Thank you for sharing, Grit. No,
Her family kept showing her those memes. Now.
no, but what you're describing is populism. That's exactly what you're describing.
No. Populism is what they allow to happen so that then when populism ultimately fails, in can rush this.
Their own kind of.
But is like Western democratic values, whatever the sort of non-superstitious, whatever the Illuminati stood for, is that populism? And I would argue no.
Well, no, they're using populism as a means to an end, and I feel like then you really have to decide where you stand morally. Like, do you think that?
Oh, no. But the question was not that they are morally good.
The
question was they are good actually. And so I think if you're saying
after a second thought,
So now we're redefining the word good.
no.
yeah,
We started with defining the Illuminati.
that's what the Illuminati is trying to do.
They're changing our language up.
If you think about the greatest good for the greatest number, then it might be acceptable to allow populism to take hold in certain places to better ensure a pushback against it to make things better for the people afterwards.
This is a trolley problem, what you have here.
Yeah.
This is essentially, but not everyone is going to subscribe to that, like, type of moral philosophy.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Illuminatis. They know that you will not subscribe to that, and that's why they don't give you the right to choose.
Wait, why are you
No,
arguing?
no, that's the thing. That the definition of anti-democracy.
Yeah.
You know, they say you're not smart enough to see the greater words. You're not.
That's fascism right there.
I mean, fascism is, I think, slightly different. What I would say is that if you're talking about the Illuminati, this is guiding the way that people think. And whilst one might argue that in general, that is pretty bad, I think that if you're guiding people towards what would be in future a better tomorrow, then you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
This is very fascist. This is very...
Breaking eggs is fine, but breaking people,
Now, here's the thing, right? I'm not trying to argue that I think all people have human rights, and those human rights should definitely be respected, right? I'm not a fascist. I'm not.
We just, on the record, he
Yeah.
he
He's
doesn't
not-
believe
yeah.
this stuff.
I'm not. But if you're trying to argue that there is a group called the Illuminati who are guiding things, and you're pointing out ways in which they have failed, all groups who've tried to do things. I mean, look at Brexit. Britain thought that this was going to be a great idea. They managed to convince people, and it turns out it was a shitty idea.
Yeah.
Right?
but the Illuminati are in the UK, and let that thing happen. So they are using it to unite the British people again.
Well, it could be argued that they're actually trying to make Britain into
Teach
a
them a lesson. This is what you get with democracy.
Here's the thing. I don't think that necessarily you're looking at the Illuminati being non-democratic. If they're trying to install democracies in countries that are not democracies, that's fundamentally democratic.
Yes.
Trying to install democracies
So,
in
like in
countries
Tunisia
that are not
back
democratic.
then
That's democracy?
Well, because you're increasing the amount of democracy in the world.
Yeah, but what's the point of having democracy if it's fake one?
Well, we're not talking about whether the democracies are legitimate. We're just talking about whether or not democracy is a good
So
thing.
then that word democracy is meaningless then, essentially.
Well, I mean...
it's not a catch-all word that means good things.
You could argue that most democracies are illegitimate. Most democracies don't actually work in favor of the people who vote for the government. In America,
yes.
the vast majority of Americans who want something very rarely ever see it getting put through Congress. Democracies were essentially made when people took what little power they could from the people in charge.
Yeah.
And the people in charge over the last 200 years have been fighting back as best they can to try and stop us. But I think democracy is a good thing. The more democracy in the world is a good thing, because once you have democracy in a country, once you give people rights, it's very difficult to take those rights away.
Are you talking about a direct democracy in this case, just for
No, I just mean in general. For example, once in Britain they gave women the right to vote, right? Then it is almost impossible to take that right away again, because the pushback against it would be incredibly strong. You can tinker around the edges, which the Americans are definitely doing. You can introduce things like ID control, and you have to be registered. You can't have mail-in voting and things like that. But you can't actually take away the right to vote.
But this is where I actually have to say something, because you can't compare...
Yeah, because you've been quiet all the episodes.
No, this is actually important. You're talking about women's rights. We see this exact thing happening with gay marriage in places like Poland and places like Hungary right now. Yes, we actually can go backwards, and it's it's happening very soon.
Did Poland have gay marriage?
I mean, they're in the European Union. So.
I don't think they did. The Czech Republic's in the European Union, and they don't have gay marriage.
Shit, really?
So this is the
Austria don't have gay marriage.
Yes, they do.
So probably recently, because until 3 or 4 years ago they did not have it.
Legally,
they had
legal
union, but they did not have marriage.
That is a perfect example of why the Illuminati is good. Austria, literally the birthplace of Hitler, the place in which that sort of modern fascism was formed, now is basically the opposite of that country. Germany took where
they voted for it.
Where Nazism became the crucible in which it was formed. Germany in the 1930s is now one of the most liberal, at least socially, countries on the face of the planet. They took in 1 million refugees from war-torn Syria.
True that.
You cannot argue for a better example of a way that the Illuminati allowed something bad to happen so that the future would be better than the countries of Germany and Austria. Mic drop.
I have nothing to say, so I will allow you to respond to that.
Yeah, but a better future to who? To white people?
I mean, no, because in
So far, like, only white people have it good. Africa is fucked. The Middle East is fucked.
Okay, so here's...
Afghanistan and everywhere else is fucked.
Okay, so that's again, like I'm talking about, the Illuminati has not had a chance to spread to those places yet. If you're trying to say the Illuminati is bad because there are places in the world that are bad, it depends on what
No, they are protecting their own self.
what the countries are?
No, they're protecting where they're from. So they are not working. They're working for world dominance to protect their own people. So of course it's gonna be better for UK, for Germany, for USA, because that's what they are based.
Okay.
So
What
the
about-
greater good is the greater of those G6 or G7.
But what about
like
your
they're called.
country where you had a dictatorship for a number of years and then people rose up, overthrew that dictator, and then things are generally better? We were talking about in my podcast, Making Europe Grants Again, available wherever you get podcasts.
Shameless plug.
It was really smooth plug.
Thank you very much.
I honestly.
We were talking about that, about how things in Tunisia are getting better for people,
True.
right?
But you are
And
the
so
white
that's-
people of Africa.
White people of Africa.
Okay, so apart from the fact that that is hysterically racist,
And he's allowed
That's
to say it.
accurate.
I'm just glad you said it, not me. But okay, so now you're splitting hairs over how dark people have to be before things can be considered to be getting better for them.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
So that's what the Illuminati are choosing.
The Illuminati have chose to give Tunisia a democratic government that is making things better for their own people. The Illuminati has chosen to give...
Because in the recent year we've been qualified as white enough to be to be accepted in the list.
So you only get the benefits of the Illuminati if you live in a white people country.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe.
So here, you heard it here, folks. The Illuminati is only cool
The
if you're
list
white.
to join the Illuminati, you have to have good infrastructure, gay marriage rights, enough of white people.
But here's...
Wait, just real quick, I want to clarify. I'm not talking just about gay marriage when I mentioned Poland and Hungary. I'm talking about just the general lack of rights that are occurring in these places. Like, we can, devolve in that sense.
So you can devolve with people's rights, right? You can devolve with
Yes.
the way that people get treated, right? For example, in Poland, where they've got these anti-LGBTQ zones.
yeah.
But I really do believe that Poland had not introduced a law permitting gay people to get married.
Yeah, but
And-
that's not the point. is
No,
the thing.
it's the point, because
Poland
if you-
is on the border with Illuminati, so they did not make the step yet.
Okay, so if we're using the example of people of allowing something really bad to happen to allow the pushback so that things get sort of like auto-corrected into the right way of doing things, look at what happened in Poland when they tried to completely ban the women's right to get an abortion, right?
When was this?
This was last
Last
year.
year, yeah.
Last year.
Okay.
No, I guess
please
it was-
teach me the news. 'Cause
It was
I don't know what's
pre-COVID,
happening.
so I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so it maybe like late 2020, early 20. No, sorry.
Late 2019.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they basically, the right-wing government in Poland put in place a thing through the courts. They were going to make it completely illegal to get an abortion for any reason at all. Even like medical reasons, if a doctor says this needs to happen,
Yeah.
the sanctity of the fetus's life was more important than the sanctity of the mother's life, right? And it brought out the biggest demonstrations Poland has ever seen, and they worked. It stopped the law from getting passed in its entirety. That goes to show that once you give people a certain amount of rights, it is incredibly difficult to take them away. And one could argue that that government in Poland is being allowed to do these horrible things, much like it was in America, much like it was in Germany or the Soviet Union, in order to allow people to show them there's another way of doing things.
You can take the victories as they come, but I still think it's necessary to point out the fact that
Illuminatis are bad.
these are very like specific circumstances, I must say. Like,
No, absolutely. But what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to point out ways in which things that were bad have been influenced in such a way so that they are now better. Right?
but that's because of the people. Like, to what extent
Yeah,
is
but
the Illuminati?
his point is that the Illuminati is controlling the people,
If the
they're
Illuminati-
controlling the way they think. So this
Fair
is the
enough,
right
fair
thing.
enough. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
But again, if you control the mind of people, of course you make them think, okay, we are going in the right direction, we're going in the right direction, and then boom, everyone is a slave of the Illuminati.
Okay. So are you saying that democracy and human rights are bad things?
No, that's the no that
No, you have to understand, this is not the first time such a question has been brought up on this podcast in regards to this one, our freedom fighter in particular.
Because if if the side against me is arguing that democracy and human rights are bad things, and I think
No,
that
that-
automatically proves my point that the Illuminati.
No,
is
that's
good,
the carrot
actually.
that they're dangling in front of us. So like, you're gonna get it soon. Just keep on working. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. Oh, now you're trapped. You're not getting the carrot, and you're working for us.
But okay, all right. I believe we're almost running out of time. I had something I was gonna say, but I can't remember. So you say words now.
I think. Thank you.
if I can give something for the Illuminatis, is the good music that they're responsible for. They used to have give us a lot of pop music, but now they're too busy controlling people, so we don't have good music anymore.
Actually, speaking of music, this is what I wanted to say before. Does that mean the Illuminati is responsible for the fact that Britney is still under her conservatorship?
One could argue that the Illuminati are responsible for Britney slowly getting out of her conservatorship.
Can we though?
Well,
so according to him, that's like you
they
make it
put her
really
in the first place.
So you need to make it really bad. So she's almost breaking.
You need to break her spirit to
to free
build
her up.
back up. This is like that scene from V for Vendetta where like Natalie Portman's being tortured by this guy. Like what the fuck? That was not the good guy of the movie. Or I don't.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Well, that's why I hate this movie.
But I mean, that guy has. This is actually the perfect example, right? So his actions are morally seriously questionable, right? Like ethically, the things he did to Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta are not good.
Yeah.
But him doing that to her led for the two of them to overthrow what was essentially a racist, fascist dictatorship that had been experimenting on gay people, ethnic minorities, and whatever you like. So, if we're talking about a greatest good for the greatest number type situation, then it's awful that Natalie Portman had to suffer the way she did.
You heard it here, folks. Abusing women is good, as long as it's for the greater good.
Yeah, but that's why he put end to his life because I did the good thing.
He didn't want to be canceled. Doing a good thing.
I'm not afraid of the fascist government, but those Karens, they're gonna cancel me.
These social justice warriors, they are gonna get me once this comes.
I'd rather die.
You can see the writing on the wall. He's like, I don't want to have Huffington Post articles about me. I don't want to be a listicle on BuzzFeed. Like, here's all the bad things V did. You'll never guess what number 9 is.
Quite literally is why I don't like this movie, but we are out of time.
Because he died before she can cancel him.
That's actually sticking them under this movie.
All right, you guys have enough time to make closing statements, so yeah, you have to go now.
Okay, I think if we're talking about the Illuminati controlling things generally, whether it be the way people think or the way people, like the activism that they take part in or the way that the world moves, I think generally, to quote Martin Luther King, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice.
Did you just make a Martin Luther King quote reference while arguing for...
Hey, if anybody better represents the way that sometimes people who are in positions of power and who are trying to change things have to die to become martyrs.
I was thinking about the abusing women thing, but...
What, Martin Luther King?
I'm talking about you using this as an example for why we should abuse women.
No, I'm not. Okay, I never said we should abuse women. I'm just saying that in the case of V for Vendetta, that is a perfect example.
I'm just saying.
By the end of the episode, you're gonna have Grant. I'm Grant. I
don't abuse women.
Okay, let me just get this out of the way.
Folks.
I'm pre-apologizing, guys. I'm getting this out of the way early. I apologize for everything I've said.
He does not stand for the things neither.
And she would have cancelled him already.
But yeah, so if we're talking about the betterment of humanity through the changing of the way people think, the things that people do, the things that people find socially acceptable, then I think for the Illuminati to be doing what they're doing is good, actually.
Okay, and your response?
What I'm saying, abuse of power is never a good thing. You may take it and abuse it. People are gonna think you're doing the right thing, but after a certain moment, like you're gonna be high on your power and you're gonna start doing bad thing as Illuminati have already proven.
That's fair, but also I would say, just as a final point, no one's saying that the Illuminati need to stay in power forever. Once they achieve their objectives, there's no reason that we can't then get them out.
Yeah, but they have all the power.
No more of this.
The people have the power. Vive la revolution!
We're gonna have part 2 of this discussion.
Okay, so I guess that was
That
bye.
was it.
No, of course.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Yes, please plug all of your stuff here.
Okay, you can find me doing comedy shows all around Europe. You can follow me on Facebook at Grant Gallacher Comedian. I'm also on Instagram at The Granty Christ. I do a podcast called Making Europe Grants Again, which you have both been on, and it was
Yes.
absolutely fantastic.
It was,
It was a
a really
lot of
fun
fun.
episode.
It was good,
It was
and
really
I
that
also
ending.
host a YouTube channel called Visual Politic. That's Politic with a K, so you can find me online there.
All right, that's
All
cool.
right,
We'll make sure to
as
put all the
usual-
links
yeah.
in the description. Thank
you
you for
very much.
interrupting me while
You're
I was
welcome.
It's a great day for feminism.
I thought the Illuminati was taking power.
Finally, Africans and Europeans can agree
Yeah.
on something.
Yeah.
Fuck women. I would like to apologize again.
Me too.
The only reason I am laughing is because I know he is a feminist. So I will.
Hey,
vouch
I'm a feminist too.
sure.
For a given value of feminist.
Yeah.
See, I have to bully him. He's my comedy brother. You're a guest, so I have to be nice to you.
Well,
So-
thank you very much.
in-
How was you being nice to me when you called me a fascist?
You were being okay.
She called me worse than that.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all the things you're supposed to do. I'm supposed to say as an influencer. Please check out all of his stuff in the description. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks very much for having me, guys. This
Yes,
was brilliant.
it was a lot of fun.